Emilia del Alma, Soul Family, Darren Austin Hall here, giving you another Wisdom Warrior transmission. And the topic I wanted to bring up today is pretty much an elaboration on one of the things I've been sharing about a lot. And the reason I keep bringing it up is because it's one of the big building blocks of our whole social order. And when you track what's going on in the world and you look at it through spiritual perspectives, you can witness that this is such a momentous thing that is occurring right now. So I had a really beautiful talk that I gave a while back called Knowing Truth in a Post-Truth World, and that kind of dovetails with what I'm sharing about today, which is all about, these criticisms I've been putting forth about science, because science as we know it here in the West, in Western civilization, it is pretty much the worldview that feeds and nourishes so much about how our societies have been constructed and how they basically continue to be designed even more so, and basically how they're run, like how we all think. We live in a scientific world. We literally gather our sense of truth through science in the West. And we have to really be clear about what science means in this capacity, because there's so many different versions of science. And Western science is largely based on a mechanistic model that sees the universe as non-sentient and non-conscious, and it doesn't believe in such things as animism, which is a very indigenous belief that all things, whether it's trees, whether it's animals, all things have a living spirit. And it's very materialist based, what we would know as empirical science or positivist science, meaning if you can see it, it exists, and if you can't, then it doesn't exist. Of course, these are gross statements, and nowadays, with the burgeoning of quantum physics, we're starting to realize that there are a lot of unseen dimensions and worlds that continue to actually just absolutely put scientists into a healthy state of awe. But specifically, what I want to talk about today is how it's very interesting what's happening right now with COVID, with this pandemic, and witnessing more of the plandemic aspect, in the sense that we're seeing increasingly that governments around the world are kind of marching lockstep together, initiating these sort of orders, these lockdown orders, starting to push the nexus of political activation or political molding in our world, like the World Economic Forum in Davos. And we're starting to see these policies coming out of these elitist meetup groups, really, where they're starting to really push these agendas like the Great Reset, which so many governments, including my own government in Canada, are saying they're going to follow. And if you've been following people like Russell Brand, who's been doing some amazing critiques on the Great Reset, you know that this is a very radical revisioning of our culture. And when we look at some of the elements that are playing in this pandemic and the elements that existed there before, such as Bill Gates and his whole, almost obsession with vaccines. And when you look at a lot of the agendas to create this kind of technocracy, how they've all been kind of implemented before the pandemic, and it's increasingly looking like the pandemic is being exploited for these changes to just be accelerated through without much public consensus, even though there was a lot of resistance to a lot of this stuff prior to the pandemic. And now, of course, with the conditioning of the also epidemic of fear, people are starting to just give away their rights and just assume that these governments have our best interest in mind. And why I want to mention science is because I find we're actually at a very interesting point now in places like North America, and I know in Canada, where in the province that I'm from, Toronto, Ontario, they've just announced they're doing a third lockdown after they were supposed to just come out of a second lockdown. And you're starting to witness more and more average common people who were pretty much giving their trust to the government on their pandemic response. And you're seeing increasingly people are saying, this isn't right. This doesn't make sense anymore. And the sense part's really important, because if you've noticed with COVID, there is science on both sides. There is science that's saying that COVID is this incredibly dangerous virus, unlike anything we have seen before, that justifies all of these pandemics, that basically says vaccines is the only way we're going to revert back to any semblance of normalcy. But on the other hand, the undeniable fact, and undeniable in the sense that these are also scientists who are doing good scientific peer-reviewed studies, evidence-based, and medical experts, doctors, immunologists, many different realms of medical expertise are also doing their science and coming out and showing that no, there are other perspectives that are showing this virus isn't as dangerous. And you're even seeing some of those aspects being, expressed even by the CDC and different studies that are coming out. And what's happening is it's creating a lot of confusion. And what's not helping the confusion, and what is decidedly unscientific, is the fact that there's an obvious bias in all of this toward promulgating and propagating, exalting really, the science that is showing that this virus is a horror show, that it is incredibly dangerous, which justifies all these political measures, from the lockdowns to the corporate political kind of technocracy collusion. And that's where things get very, very alarming. When you start to witness the amount of censorship that is happening of scientists, peer-reviewed articles on social media. And do not give me this excuse that, well, you opted into social media and it's not, they're a private corporation too, like Facebook and such. Look, social media, the reason why in America social media is being brought before, Senate commissions to be interrogated is because social media has become so powerful, if not more powerful than actual media. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, these places are where a lot of people go to get their sense of the world, their sense of truth, their information. I was recently censored on YouTube in my last video. If you want to go and watch it, it's on IG still, IGTV, at Darren Druid. It's not that controversial a video in a sense. I was just talking about the things I'm talking about right now, but you're seeing left, right, and center this massive cancel culture attitude right now to any perspective that counters against this established status quo now that you must follow this political corporate agenda of the Great Reset. And seeing the pandemic in this certain way, and anyone who questions it is vehemently dismissed, canceled, disappeared, censored. It's absolutely mind-boggling. And what is most mind-boggling at all is that is not science, folks. That is not how science operates. Science should always be more interested in what it does not know. And there's so much we don't know about this virus, its origins, its mutations, and how to treat it. I mean, treating viruses in general is still up for so much debate when it comes to the allopathic Western model. As I mentioned in the last video, I believe, Western medicine sucks at treating disease. It just sucks. It's not very good. It's an amazing emergency medicine, but if you're dealing with a long-standing virus, viral infection, or disease, its track record is atrocious. It pretty much knee-jerk reaction to take a bunch of pharmaceutical pills or a vaccine when there is so many other multi-dimensions to health, so many more ancient methods of healing and medicine that have been around for so long that need to be integrated right now to create a powerful medical front. And the fact that they are not only being not listened to and unacknowledged, but censored from this conversation should give you enough evidence to really see what the fuck is going on. This is bullshit. People's lives are being atrociously ruined, needlessly. Businesses, small businesses are being destroyed while rich, elite, big businesses like malls and all the stores that are inside there are allowed to open. It's just mind-boggling. And what is amazing is people are witnessing the hypocrisy. You just can't help it. It's spewing all around us. And it's like we're going through this giant collective initiation right now, and all of it is being seen. People are waking up in the droves, and I want to give a lot of love out there to everyone who is standing strong, who is posting on social media, pushing back against ideas like mandatory vaccines. I mean, this is like the whole theme, the whole discussion of abortion. This is a violation of someone's body. This is taking away a person's freedom over their body. That is crazy. We need to understand that vaccines are skillful means of medicine in some perspectives, but to actually force everyone to get vaccines to return to some normal, and all the gaslighting that is happening, all of the media slowly bullying people increasingly into this sense that, well, do your part, get vaccinated. Oh, you're a teacher now, that's the big one. Oh, you're a teacher, like we're closing the schools for the children. We better vaccinate all of the teachers. Even though they're telling us you're gonna need a vaccine every year, like the flu shot, because there's gonna be so mutations of this thing. Of course, it's a coronavirus. Colds and flus are not static processes. They're endlessly evolving as viruses. Look how ineffective the flu shot is. And I mean, why, when you see how mind-boggling it is that like the actual state of influenza in the world has just like plummeted so much. It's like, come on, we're not stupid. We are highly intelligent. And what is wonderful is this is sparking people to do their own investigations, their own inquiry. And we're getting to a point where we're realizing, hey, you know what? Western science is not infallible. It's biased. It's not a supreme form of truth. The scientific method, the idea of taking aspects of a natural environment and creating this kind of like artificial container in a lab where you can study natural phenomena and try and get a sense of things, it's not as accurate as we think. It's not a way to always find objective truth. And this is one of the great themes that's happening right now, I think, with everyone just sharing all these counter arguments. We're witnessing the end of scientism, of this view that Western empirical materialistic science is the supreme way to know truth about the world. It just isn't. And I know that's creating a lot of crazy consternation in folks, to the point where people are like throwing all these emotionally triggered reactions at people like, oh, you're anti-science, you're some far-right redneck. No, there are intelligent criticisms of science that are very valid now more than ever. And what the future holds is erecting a new way that we gather truth from the world, which can include Western empirical physical science, but which must integrate non-physical, metaphysical, mystical, intuitive, intelligent sciences as well, qualitative sciences as opposed to quantitative sciences. This is what our ancient ancestors were doing for thousands of years, and they were fucking brilliant. I mean, look at a lot of these indigenous cultures. They weren't using Western empirical science, and they thrived for thousands of years in harmony with the natural environment, which, if you haven't noticed, despite COVID, it is the most important thing still on the planet, our disharmony with the earth. If we don't figure that out, we're doomed. And the reason we haven't figured it out is because Western science has actually been the proponent of the raping and the devastation of Earth, because it is based on this idea that the Earth isn't alive, that it's based on this human supremacy complex. If you want your mind really blown, go into my Wisdom Warrior playlist on my YouTube channel and check out the talk I did on the human supremacy complex. I know everyone's all up in arms about white supremacy, which for sure is anathema, but if you really want to go to the root, I mean, I am trained in Chinese medicine. You know, in these traditional medicines, the reason they're so much more effective than allopathic Western medicine in treating disease is because they go to the root. They read nature so brilliantly. They understand the phenomena. They have reverence for nature. They have reverence. It's like, if you want to defeat an enemy in battle, You know, if you ever read some of the quotes of General Patton or The Art of War, you know, if you're going to go into battle with something like a virus like COVID-19, you've got to respect its nature. You know, it's just not some like thing that you're just going to destroy. You have to have reverence for it because it's a part of nature, and it's trying to show on a deep-rooted level that there's something very imbalanced on a deeper level. And I believe, as indigenous elders like Dave Christian have shared, that the imbalance really lies in the fact that humans have put the natural environment into such a state of stress that the immune systems of animals also are causing these diseases to basically jump the barriers between human and animals. So there is a lot going on here, and we need to have a more integrative approach of science. And frankly, as someone who's been a critic of the Western scientific method for so long, I'm really excited at what's happening right now. And I know there's all this consternation happening because people are freaking out. Of course, they're losing their sense of security of how they get truth from the world. That's why you're seeing all these people railing against conspiracy theorists. Oh, you're just like an expert. You just made some stuff up. You watch a bunch of YouTube videos. Yeah, people are going and thinking for themselves. Guess what? There's a lot of intelligent people also on YouTube, as well as a bunch of provocateurs who have nothing really of depth to say. And people are taking education into their own hands. And the authorities who have been running our societies, our governments, who we need to absolutely non-comply with at this point, because they're just it's a psychopathic system that needs to be unplugged. They're dead scared of this because people are not seeking conventional passive education anymore. They're becoming sovereign. They're becoming Gnostics. They're thinking for themselves. We are witnessing right now the biggest unplugging from the matrix. All that media, mass media propaganda ever. Super exciting, super awesome. People, keep coming together, keep growing your sacred solidarity. Keep resisting, keep talking to each other, keep inquiring, and be fiercely compassionate, because some people are still not awake to all of this stuff. And they're getting increasingly feeling under threat because their whole sense of the world is being shook in a massive way. I mean, we all are being shook on a massive way with this pandemic. So I think I'll leave it for there right now, but I just really want to send that out. And again, just much love to everyone who's taking this stand. I see more of you every single day. This is the defiant boldness that we have to really exude now. And you're seeing it all over the friggin' world. Like, I've seen videos now. I saw a video in Serbia today. They pretty much stormed the parliament because they wanted to end curfews. And guess what? It worked, because there was like tens of thousands of them outside. I mean, you're seeing this all over the world. People are just marching. The media is like trying to keep this Truman Show going, but it's just so evident that the sleeping giant of humanity is waking up. And right now it can seem a little daunting and scary. And a lot of that is because this matrix of a world is crumbling. And that's okay, because there's a whole other world there. It's the world that you represent in your heart as a living and breathing, beautiful creature of Gaia. We are worlds unto ourselves, and together we're going to create a whole new earth. This is an amazing time, but it's asking us to be a warrior right now. Nietzsche has a beautiful quote where he talks about how, you know, the goddess who is wisdom, she wants us to be warriors. You know, this is why a lot of this is happening on a deep karmic level. We were in the doldrums. We were slumbering. We needed something to wake us the F up. And this is it. And now I'm seeing it in all its glory. 2020 was a hard fucking year. And this year is also very hard, but this year is different. This year I feel like people are really, really starting to wake up en masse. And when we wake up and start to then activate and embody what we really are as free, conscious, sovereign beings, nothing can stop us. And there's an incredible world just waiting to emerge from our just goddess-given creativity being rightfully reclaimed. It's exciting times, folks. Be glorious. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you want to keep up to date with all the Wisdom Warrior stuff. And definitely, if you want a nice respite, if you are locked down somewhere, I'm thankfully in Costa Rica. There's a lot of beauty here. We're very free. But if you're locked down and you're looking for some respite, please check out my Honor All Creation playlist. I've been making videos for all the songs from my new album, Honor All Creation, a double album on Spotify, all devoted to the goddess. Please check it out. And I have a lot of projects that are going to be coming out this year and blossoming, including the Honor All Creation New Earth Mythology online course, which we're going to be launching in the next couple of months, along with my first book, Love's Revolution, and a whole bunch of other courses that are going to come this year when I launch the Gaia Awakening virtual mystery school, which will be happening very, very soon. So much love to you all. Sacred solidarity. Be glorious.